often people would know or heard of the mass path, but wouldn't necessarily have taken it very often because it's certainly it's been difficult to take the mass path for quite a while. But this is generally good news now with the grant coming through 10,000 for improvements on the Kilcoole and Kilcoole side of it. There's also the wonderful announcement that this had been a block, but that this hopefully now is going to be open to the public. We'll take a walk because I haven't been here since we reported on the original campaign, which has been about a year and a half to get this.
Yeah, it's over 2 years now, Paul.
2 years.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing, and it's still not finalised.
Right.
There's still a lot of issues outstanding, and the biggest of which is still the illegal erection of this big palisade fence.
Right.
We just feel it's not in keeping with the walkway.
Sure.
And it's nothing that a 1.2 metre stock fence wouldn't suffice, like everywhere else in the mass.
Right.
Yeah, we've sort of joined.
Well, you're Kilcoole Walkways.
Our group is Kilcoole Walkways, and we were formed to sort of maintain these paths and to bring them to the wider public appeal, and to combat threats we perceived to these walkways. The biggest of which was the closure at this point of the path leading onto Drummin Lane.
Yeah.
Now these paths have existed for like hundreds of years,
right?
And they all used to converge in Kilcoole Church. Now, just over 2 years ago, Kelly's Drain Services blocked off this path and erected this big fence and padlocked the gates.
I don't see the fence itself because I've seen it from the other side, but I've never come through it this way. I've sort of. So it's still blocked up though, is it?
No, they've opened the padlocks and the gates and granted permission for entrance. But that was just through Wicklow County Council, an enforcement notice. We joined a grand coalition of community groups from Drummin residents, Blackberry Lane residents, there was Delgany Community Council, Priest Newtown residents, as well as Kilcoole Tidy Towns.
Right.
Ourselves, and then various individuals from Greystones and further afield, including Councillor Derek Mitchell, and national organisations such as OIGA. And thankfully Wicklow County Council have backed us up and issued proceedings that they had no permission for anything here and to dismantle the fence. Now they were given time to do that, Paul, they were supposed to have it down by the 3rd of August, and if not, the council said that they would take it down and Bill Kelly's for it. Unfortunately it hasn't happened, and
so this is kind of just this through here now where they've opened it up, but this would be the walkway along here.
This would have been the original
which is
path,
tricky.
Paul.
Yeah, it's not exactly as our forefathers envisaged it.
No. But if you notice here as well, Paul, people are coming through this laneway off the Farrankelly Road, and they're seeing all this signage, which is just not in keeping with the path.
Sure, but it's also suggesting that you're not really welcome to come any further here, and
it's very
your dog could be shot or found.
And if you see this sign here, for instance, it says warning, unauthorised entry is forbidden.
Right.
I mean, it's short and saying that you need a high vis jacket and a hard hat.
Sure.
You know, perhaps after doing this interview,
with Kelly Drainage written on the back of it would be handy too, just to make sure you work for them. But I know that they released a press release which it sort of had a tint of the North Korean kind of propaganda, that they were basically doing out of goodwill and out of the goodness of their heart. They were going to open up this path to let people enjoy the beautiful countryside, and it did sort of strike me that it was a bit like sort of resigning from a job just after you've been fired. Just as I'm going to leave this job, I've had enough of it. I want to retire while I'm still happy and all that. It does seem they've obviously fought it for 2 years. I get the impression there still might be having a struggle to come up with what the Wicklow County Council told them to do. You were saying the 3rd of August was supposed to be the deadline.
That was the deadline, Paul. I mean, you can see this section of path. There used to be a hedgerow here, and even though it's a small section of path, it still has a rich sort of history and even a social history. I mean, a neighbour of mine recounts that there was all cherry trees along this bank here, and the people of Kilcoole used to come up and pick cherries.
Right.
And he even recounts the tale of there used to be a granite trough, and the river used to sort of drain into it as sort of a feeding trough.
Wow.
And he remembers catching a foot-long trout in it, which was great news for John, my neighbour. Bad news for the trout. But you know, it's things like that. Another resident from Preach Newtown recalls driving a car all the way from Glen of the Downs to Preach Newtown before this motorway. So you can see here the width.
Sure, yeah.
You know, it's at least 4
proper,
metres.
It was a proper lane,
4 metres wide.
not just a walkway, but really a lane of you know, because I was growing up as a kid on Blackberry Lane, I would have come over this way quite a bit, Young's Lane and like that. Yeah, it'd be just, you know, it was a lane like Blackberry Lane. It was a driveway. It wasn't just a path for walking, and it just seemed surreal when I come up to sort of not only be greeted by a fenced off turnstile, so it means that no cars can go further beyond a certain point, but even the walkway then was blocked, which just seemed very ugly.
Yeah, well, it's just not keeping, and we can't understand why it hasn't been dismantled. Hopefully Wicklow County Council will come through on the ward and dismantle. I mean, this looks like we've nicknamed it Guantanamo.
Yeah.
President Trump would be proud of this fence.
We'll have to put a photo on it somewhere though, just to give it a bit of an Irish twist.
Yeah.
We should, on a positive note, we should say that the 10,000 grant that came would make a huge difference, hopefully, to other parts of the Mass Path. I don't know what the plan is now with the funding.
Yeah, well, on everything is positive on the other sections of the Mass Path. It's just this section, you know. So we'd welcome, like, if Kelly's would dismantle the fence, and perhaps the councillor representing Kelly's would state publicly whether he thinks the fence should be dismantled, as per the council instruction. It'd be welcome if he made a statement on that, and the path restored to its original state. I mean, it'd be great if Kelly's came through on the word to erect a hedgerow, as they've said they've done.
Well, I understand their need for, you know, on the farming side, if they want to protect livestock, but as you say, it possibly doesn't need this kind of level of fencing, where this is more keeping, you know, people out more than
Paul, we've had great relations with landowners all along the Mass Path route. In fact, on the other side of the road, the Evans family have owned that land for generations, and they've always been mindful of the Mass Path and respectful of people using it.
Right.
And you know, even when we approached Grattan about the present owner, about our intentions to promote the walkway to sort of wider public appeal, I think he had a great reply. He said, like, well, although he's the landowner, he's still part of the community and he'd like to do his bit. So Grattan now, thankfully, is offered to help us sort of resurface and things like that. It'd be great if Kelly's could do likewise and put an end to this.
Well, the fact is, we're all caretakers. You know, none of us can really own this land, because as much as you can have the deeds to it and you can use it for your own purpose, for farming, whatever, it's still, we're all just ultimately caretakers, because there's a lot more, you know, people coming after us. A lot more people went before us, and they're all going to need to know that this land is still part of their community.
Well, I mean, it's been walked for generations, for hundreds of years, you know, and we're just passing through. In another 30 years' time, we won't be here, so it's important to sort of
I'm aiming for 35 myself now. I'd like another 35 years, then I'm happy.
Well, you know, you're fond of a point, Paul. But you know, so elsewhere in the Mass Path, like, our thing is to get a sort of a walkway, a continuous walkway from Kilcoole Beach all the way to Delgady. Now it's there already, but people just aren't aware of it. So we'd like to do improvement works along the route. We're going to erect signage now in the next month or two with the aid of the council. We're very on board working with the council. In fact, we approached, elsewhere in the Mass Path, we approached Rory O'Hanlon, the local engineer, council engineer, great man, doing great work locally. And we approached him that people had concerns with cattle on the Mass Path in the field known as the Sally Walk. So he applied for and secured funding, that's the €10,000, in order to fence that field off and hopefully maybe do some resurfacing and other works. So that hopes to be commenced now in the next couple of months. So that's a huge positive.
Well, brilliant. Well, we'll certainly keep an eye on and let people know. We'll put up maps just so people know exactly where these walks are, because especially when the signage is up and we've had a little bit of time to be able to sort of just establish it in people's minds. This is an option. This is a lovely walk. This is because that we can see by the cliff walk, we can see by many stretches of Wicklow, people do like to walk around here, and if they know there's a path with history, a path with beautiful views beyond the odd fence, but a lot of beautiful spots along this walk too, which is
the beauty of this walk, Paul, is a lot of it's off-road. We're very lucky, and we sort of take these paths for granted. But from like literally a couple of 100 metres from the centre of Kilcoole, there's a beautiful walk, the Mass Path, through open countryside. And it comes all the way through here. Unfortunately, the road had to go in, and that can't be helped. But
given the amount of roadworks we've had lately and just how congested it can be with all the new houses, is there any chance we could use this as a secret route for driving, getting to work? It'd be grand to have a kind of a bat cave road where nobody else knows about it. If we could just open it up wide enough for an average car, I think we'd have a whole new kind of world opening up here.
I'd hate to see any cars, but the whole thing about this path is like we're very keen to keep the hedgerow, to keep the natural wildflowers, and we'd like to come from it to keep the trimming to a minimum. We'd love to promote more sort of, you know, people's awareness of their surroundings and the beauty we have.
Well, let
here.
nature do its thing, because you know that's always been there, and it'll be there after we're gone, and whatever happens to this planet, you know, nature wins. So,
and I think by opening up these pathways, we're sort of educating people. People are more in touch with their surroundings, and they see the plants growing here, and hopefully they'll respect it and respect the landowners through which the land passes. You know, pick up after their dogs and elsewhere. You know. Sure.
Well, I think we're onto you know, a very positive phase of it, because people have recognised it, and obviously the council have recognised it, which is crucial in these scenarios, really, that they recognise what people feel in their community. So here's the next few months. We'll definitely, as I said, chart it, and I think it's going to be I think it's going to be positive, because this is definitely, I know it hasn't been fixed, we'll say, but it's certainly on the it's on everybody's radar, and that's the most important thing. It's not just a small lone voice.
It's a fabulous amenity, and we should be embracing it and cherishing it. And we'd just like to say elsewhere, Paul, we're about to announce the opening of the first section of the path, which is on Kilcoole Beach, up to the village of Kilcoole.
Brilliant.
Now we'll be opening that on Saturday 2 weeks, Saturday the 7th of October, 2 p.m.
Great, 2 p.m. I'll put that in and make sure everyone knows about it. We'll put it in our diary and bounce it up when the weekend is coming. But that's terrific, and
that was a walk that was always there too. But you know, it sort of fell into disuse. It got very boggy in places. But we've worked hard now over the last winter, and we've done a lot of resurfacing with the aid of a small village grant, and a lot of volunteer work, and it's receiving rave reviews at the moment. And it's like. Right. It's there's 10 times the amount.
Well, we'll definitely go down, and I must take some shots down there, and just to let people see it. And certainly that October 7th at 2 p.m. we'll be down there and make a little record of that.
That's great. Kind of sweet. That's nice. Great, and everyone's welcome.
We should say the dogs, of course. What's the name of your dog?
That's Brass.
Hey Brass, how are you, kid? And Max, you all right, Maxer? Yeah. You like these walks, don't you? We got to think of them too. This is all for them as well. Good lad.